Wait, what about weird? Hello, I'm Elena.
And I'm Echo.
And this is our podcast, What About Weird? A podcast where we discuss all things weird from cryptids and aliens to strange science and unhinged history. This week, we're going to do a little short bonus mini episode. Since it is Pride Month, I am doing an episode about a historical queer figure. His name is Henry Cyril Pagget.
Cereal?
Cereal?
I love cereal.
Honey Nut Cheerios Pagget. I haven't done an episode in so long because we've been doing all of the Jonestown episodes.
You're like, wait, how?
How do I word? How to word? So Henry Cyril Pagget, also known as the Dancing Marquise.
I love that.
I know. Already, that's all you gotta know. Episode over. Bye. That was the mini episode. So Henry Cyril Pagget, also known as the 5th Marquess of Anglesey and the Earl of Uxbridge? I don't know.
How is it spelled?
U-X Bridge. Uxbridge?
That's how I would say it.
Uxbridge was born June 16th, 1875. The oldest son of Henry Pagget, son of Henry Pagget. I'm not even joking.
They're all named Henry Pagget?
Yeah, for like 3 generations.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yep. But the oldest son of Henry Pagget, the 4th Marquess of Anglesey?
Anglesey?
I'm going to be mispronouncing a bunch of British words because Brits just be saying
not
whatever.
Real places anyway. It's okay.
Yeah, Britain is just saying whatever. So the oldest son of Henry Pagget, the 4th Marquess, and 5th Earl of Uxbridge, and his second wife. So Henry Cyril Pagget, his father, and his father's second wife are his parents. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So his father is remarried, basically.
Yes, and he is the oldest child from that new marriage.
Okay.
And his mother's name was Blanche Mary Boyd.
Okay. He
was known in his adult life, Henry Cyril Pagget was known in his adult life for his flamboyance and excessively lavish lifestyle. He was dubbed the Dancing Marquise because he would often perform dances and stage performances where he would do his signature butterfly dance. Flamboyant little flashy fella. His sexuality has long been called into question, but there's a lot of things that have led people to believe that he was probably queer. And because of this and his flamboyance, he's been now known as a queer icon. Hence why we are doing him for a mini-sode this month.
And yeah, definitely posting photos, like a lot
of
photos
my, you
of
need
this guy.
to see pictures of this guy.
Because he looks amazing. Like, yeah. I know you sent me a couple photos already.
So there's a period in his, I'm going to get into it, but there's a period in his life when he goes from being like a prim, proper Victorian man to doing whatever, and they were like side-by-side pictures where like he looks just like a little general, like a little general, and then it's like he's in flowing robes with feathers on his hat, just being extraordinarily sassy, just sitting there, and it's just like, I love this for him.
Which, like, to be completely honest, yes, is he a little privileged in the way that he is wealthy and can get away with this, like, with less scrutiny, because everyone's like, oh, he's just, like, a flamboyant rich guy. Yes, but at the same time, it is, in the 1870s?
He was born in the 1870s.
Yeah.
This is, like, the 1890s.
That still takes, a lot of bravery to be even questionably gay at this point in time.
Especially since there is a certain mentality in high society of you have to fit this mold of aristocracy.
Right.
So let's get into Henry Cyril's life a little bit here. So when Pagget was only 2 years old, his mother died and he was sent to live in Paris. There's some discrepancy of who was caring for him. Some reports said he was raised by one of his aunts, who later married a French actor, Benet. I don't know how to pronounce...
Benet?
Benet? That might be it. Benet Constant Coquelin? I don't know how to pronounce French words or names. And some people say that this French actor might have actually been his biological father.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
But so that's what most things were saying, but most sources were saying was that he was raised by this aunt that married a French actor who might have been his biological father. That's what most things were saying. Some things were saying one thing or another. There's a lot of discrepancy, but that was what I saw most places. When he was 8, he returned to live with his father and his father's new wife, which...
His third wife at this point, then?
I'm pretty sure it was his third wife.
Whoa.
But
right.
every source I could find just said his new wife. And I really should have looked up her name.
Yeah, at this point it could have been number 5. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't... One of his wives, who were living in Palsnued, I looked up how to pronounce that. It is Palsnued.
Okay, so the one thing you looked up for the pronunciation, so proud of you.
It has 2 D's in a row, okay? Okay, he went to Palsnued. The Pagget family home was located on the Isle of Anglesey in Wales. So, a lot of Paget's early life is unknown, but it does seem that a lot of his childhood in Wales was isolated. However, he did learn painting, and he learned to speak and sing in German, French, Russian, and Welsh. An account written after his death by a friend. His friend had said that back in Palsnued, he had a very delicate appearance. So I think that's a very old-timey way of being like, he was a little, you know. You know.
The hand gestures and everything are happening in this room, but you can't see them.
You know the hand gestures. He's you know. He's got a delicate appearance. So for a while, Pagget was actually adhering to the expectations of a Victorian man at the child, despite what we've already said, where he would go later in life. But he attended Eton College and joined the military, earning the rank of lieutenant in the 2nd Volunteer Battalion of the Royal Welsh Fusiliers. On January 20th, 1898, he married his cousin Lillian Florence Maud Chetwynd? I think it's Chetwynd.
That sounds like a name.
It sounds like a word. However, 9 months later, his life would go in an entirely different direction. So he's learned arts and stuff, but he's also being a proper Victorian man. He marries his cousin, as rich people want to do. So his life took a whole different direction when Paget's father died on October 13th, 1898. And then the 23-year-old Pagget inherited all of his family's wealth, which was an insane fortune. He had 30,000 acres of a family estate valued at over $81 million in today's money, and accumulated income. Why is my brain not working on numbers? I'm seeing it, but my brain isn't reading it. 110,000. Why was that so hard for my brain?
I don't know.
110,000 amount in today's money would be equivalent to $17.5 million every year. This is his yearly income. $17.5 million in today's money.
And I guarantee you the reason why he changes, like his whole life changes at this point, is not because of the money. I guarantee you it's because now that his family is kind of out of the way, he doesn't have to worry about, like,
he is the head of the family now.
He doesn't have to worry about when his father was alive, if he found out that he was gay, he could have withheld and like the money from him in some way, or like at this point you can have people institutionalized or just a bunch of like crazy shit. So as soon as his dad dies, he's the head of the family, he gets all this money. I'm sure he's like, it's finally time for me to be whoever the fuck I actually am.
Yes, exactly. So now he's been granted seemingly unlimited access to money. Paget is also now I don't know if the term is crowned or labeled, but he is now the 5th Marquess of Anglesey, and he saw it as a way to get his freedom and decided to use all this money to start making himself happy and fulfilling his dreams, despite the fact that the dreams were oddly lavish and out of the norm for men of the time. And contrary to everything that was expected of him as, a Victorian man, a proper Victorian man.
Right.
He did a complete 180 from being the military man with a wife who went to Eton College. Why can I not say words? So now he's totally flipped, and he starts wearing grand swirling robes encrusted with diamonds and sapphires, dressing extraordinarily lavishly. His contemporaries likened him to, and I quote, a sort of apparition, a tall, elegant, bejeweled creature. Which, if that's not how we all want to be described.
Man, if someone described me like that, I could die happy.
A sort of a elegant apparition, a bejeweled creature.
Yes. Yeah, I just like it when people call me a creature. I love that for me.
You're the number one creature in my heart.
Oh, amazing. It's like the best pet name ever. It's just like you're talking to
Creature.
Creature.
I'm gonna put your name in my phone as Creature. With a little smiley face.
Oh my gosh, that would be the best thing to ever happen to me.
I'll do that right now. You're hearing it live. Your contact is now going to be creature, which goes perfectly with your contact image, which is the picture of you from the cryptid dance party.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Boom. Creature.
Creature. The smiley face is just so cute too. It makes it look, it's got this cute little smiley face next to it. It just makes it look like creature.
Creature. I feel like you are a creature, not a creature.
Okay, now we gotta come up with a nickname that I can put in your phone at some point. But we gotta let it happen naturally. Don't think hard about it.
Yeah. You can't force your own nicknames.
No.
So, elegant and bejeweled creature. Paget had a fashion for pinery. Paget had a passion for the finer things. Took me a second, but I got there.
Say it 5 times fast.
Fashion, Paget, Paget, fashion. Paget, Paget, passion. I think I said like 6 slurs accidentally.
I was worried there for a second. I was like, all right, these F words are going to start coming out. Not okay. You stop there.
We'll just put that in the bloopers. Paget.
No, I'm including that in the episode. You can't
escape. Everyone's going to know that my speech impediments make me say slurs accidentally. I'm not homophobic. I just have speech impediment. I'm not homophobic. I have gay.
We all have gay in this house.
It's just like glitter. Once it gets somewhere, you're never getting it away. So, speaking of glitter, Paget had a passion for the finer things and soon started spending his massive amounts of money on extravagant clothes, furs, jewelry, boats, cars, perfumes, chocolates, parrots, dogs. Just there's a whole list. I have a whole list here I'm going to skip over. He's spending his money on just nice, extravagant things. And one of the things he's poured a lot of money into was his love of the theater. When Paget's father died, he renamed the home of Paul's Nued and dubbed it Anglesey Castle.
Even better.
Yeah.
I'm pro that move.
I'm pro that. We can pronounce that. We like that.
Mm-hmm.
And proceeded to convert the family chapel into a 150-seat theater and named it the Gaiety Theater. So he's like...
Well, now if that isn't fun, I don't know what is.
He's like, oh, you know what? My church is the theater.
Oh, that's actually so cute. So now we've talked about 2 theater guys, but one of them is good and one of them is bad.
Yeah. One of them's good. He just spends all his family's money, and does little dances. So the productions at the Gaiety Theater were just as extravagant as you would expect from Pagget and everything I've described so far. The programs given to the attendees were designed in shapes of characters from the production, and some of the programs were even made in silk. Shows varied in a wide range of acts, from Shakespeare, with Pagget often taking the lead role, to sometimes performing dance numbers, which, like I'd said before, had got him the nickname the Dancing Marquess. He first began performing for his servants, going on to perform for the locals, which he would dress in elaborate and super expensive clothes. His first production of Aladdin, he poached a professional acting crew from London that were visiting nearby, and promised them just absolutely insane wages. He's like, yeah, I know you guys have a steady job, but what if I gave you all of the money to do Aladdin with me over here? And eventually he would hire a formal company of actors and would take them on a 3-year tour around Europe. With his costumes, I read somewhere that he basically didn't understand the concept of costume jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I might have it put later, but I'm not sure. But he didn't really understand the concept of costumes. Like, it doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to look expensive.
Right.
Use glass instead of jewels. If there were jewels in a costume, they were real jewels. So instead of like green glass gemstones for, a jeweled crown, he would have actual emeralds.
Gosh, so if you took any prop off of the stage from that play, you were probably set for a while.
Basically, yeah. Because he had no concept of money. He's getting $8 million or $17 million a year.
Every year. That's insane.
He's having a good time. He may have felt like he's living his best life and living true to himself. Mm-hmm. But his wife was very upset and highly disagreed with this lifestyle. Yeah. This wasn't the man she married. This wasn't what was expected of a Victorian man, and did not fit with the lifestyle.
Right.
So by 1900, she had filed for divorce. Lillian, his wife, had swore the marriage was never even consummated.
Oh.
And the marriage was annulled after 2 years. She said that she had felt like a doll, a dress-up doll. He had purchased vast amounts of gems and requested that she model them naked for him, but he only ever looked at her and never touched her. So it was just like, here, put on all these pretty stuff and let me dress you up like a little doll. And she was like, not a fan.
Which I understand her point, but I don't know, if you are looking back at it and thinking he is queer, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, for sure. So after the divorce, if it affected him, Pagget never really let on if it did or not. And he continued to spend his insane fortune like there was no tomorrow. He collected cars and customized them just as much as he customized his clothes, fitting some of the exhaust fumes to put out rose-scented perfume instead of exhaust scent.
I would love that.
I know, right?
That sounds good. Let's go back to that.
It sounds so impractical, but I do like that. No one likes to be behind that one car that smells bad.
I don't want to smell it.
But also, if your car starts having problems and smelling like exhaust inside, but the exhaust smells like perfume, would you then want to go get your car fixed? Or would you not complain about being stuck behind the shitbox car on the road? Like, oh, I'm stuck behind a car that doesn't work. It smells like roses. So where was I? Rose-scented perfumes. And he fitted the cars with seats that were revolving armchairs.
Oh, wow.
So super fancy. One of his cars were even modeled after a Pullman rail car, which is a rail car where passengers dine. So it's just like a rail car, a standalone rail car, like diner car.
Yeah, that you could drive around?
Yeah, basically. This car had leather furniture and even a Baroque covered ceiling. He had a herd of 30 dogs, and when he wanted an item of clothing to be a certain color, he would just cover it in jewels of that color.
That's
so like
crazy.
I was saying earlier, if he had, he wanted a green hat, it was just covered in green stones. That's how he invented bedazzling.
Yeah, he just needed to take it to one extra step and have one of those, like, those little bejeweling pens.
Oh, yeah. It's that, but it's, $2,000 every little dot he does. Unfortunately, lifestyles like these are rarely financed forever. And in 1904, just 2 years after inheriting the entire estate, Henry Cyril Pagget was totally broke.
Oh my God. How do you spend that much money?
He managed to run up over $700,000 in unpaid debts in that time's money.
In that time.
That's
probably billions of dollars.
Probably, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Nearly everything he owned had to be liquidated to pay off the debts, including his collection of walking sticks, which was the world's largest collection of walking sticks. And he, quote unquote, retired, which is what I saw. I guess he was broke and retired from
What was he doing for work?
Yeah, I guess retired from being rich.
That's goofy.
Everything I saw, it just said he, quote, retired.
Okay.
So,
cool, I guess.
He, quote, retired and moved to France with a yearly income of only a measly $3,000 a year, or £3,000 a year at that time.
Do we know how much that is today?
I had somewhere up here where he was getting a year that we might be able to. I think that's still like $1 million.
Oh my God. So he's still a rich person.
Something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could probably do the math if I gave a shit, but my brain's not
Somebody
working.
else look it up and let us know.
Yeah, somebody let me know if I'm totally wrong and I'm just pulling numbers out my ass. But so he retired and moved to France with a measly income of £3,000 a year at the time. First he went to Diane in Brittany before finally settling in Monte Carlo. 1 year later, after his sort of forcible retirement, Pagget passed away due to complications from tuberculosis at age 29. His cousin Charles inherited the title of Marquess and immediately tore down the theater and sold portions of the estate in the 1930s to pay the leftover debt, and burned every single scrap of paper he could find with Pagget's name on it, effectively erasing him from history, and was selling himself as the 5th Marquess of Anglesey. So
fuck this
fully
guy.
Erasing him because he'd squandered the family fortune, was being just flamboyant and out there and not living up to the standards.
And here's the thing, I understand where he comes from to some extent, because yeah, probably not great to spend your entire family's fortune. Like, not awesome. But at the same time, you gotta let a guy live. Like, jeez Louise.
And also, you shouldn't be erasing history.
Yeah, getting rid of his name on shit and taking away everything that he had done.
He got rid of the theater. I couldn't find if he renamed the castle or not. I probably could look it up. But he was saying that... So, the cousin Charles was saying that Charles, was the 5th Marquess. Not the 6th Marquess, the 5th Marquess. When Henry Cyril was the original 5th Marquis.
Yeah.
I'm going to be calling him the 6th Marquis. The 6th Marquis had destroyed all paper records, as many photos as he could find, just got rid of everything, and there were only a few pictures that were left over that had been given out at some of these, the theater events that Pagget had did, that were given as like a take-home, I punched my mic, a take-home thing that people had kept, which is why we know what he looks like at all.
I'm sure there's a lot of stories that have been passed down.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of stuff that got outside of the family that he was not able to get rid of. But for a long time, Dancing Marquis was basically forgotten and ignored because of the relatively successful attempts of his successor to erase him.
Yeah.
But with a recent upswing and interest in queer history, people have found out about him and have been digging him back up. So whether or not he was actually queer or just an eccentric rich kid given access to a ridiculous fortune, we may never know, but the fact remains that he's considered a historical queer icon, and by a lot of people, a Victorian David Bowie, and he ran so all these people, or he walked so all these people could run. He skipped across the stage so that all these other people could sing in front of an audience. And that is my short little mini-sode about Henry Cyril Pagget, aka the Dancing Marquis.
I love that. Even if he wasn't actually queer, he would have fucking loved a drag queen. So, stand by it.
Love to hear it. Thank you for listening. If you liked it, please rate the podcast and share it with the weird people in your life. Follow us on Instagram at whataboutweird.pod, where we often share related pictures to the episode. If you have a topic suggestion or weird personal story, please DM us or email us at whataboutweirdpod@gmail.com. And always remember
to ask about the weird.
Bye for now!